Greetings and welcome to another Lessons with Odin. Today, I will be showing you how to make this ring, which is pretty spiffy. But that's not all about how spiffy it is. You want to see the really spiffy thing? It is totally reversible. If I can get the damn thing off my finger. Yeah. Aw, yeah. This side is blue. This side is green. This side is blue. This side is green. What color is the ring? No one fucking knows. I'm going to switch it back to the blue side because I want to wear the blue side now. So, this is part of my birthday challenge that I made a while ago. It's basically these components fashioned into a ring. I really like this piece, and I'm working on a PDF for the entire necklace. I will leave a link to my Craftsy shop down below. So if it's there, you can totally find it, and if it's not there, feel free to gaze at the rest of my tutorials to keep you occupied until I get my ass up to finish this thing. I am also working on making a bracelet, a reversible bracelet for this component as well. Basically a bunch of chains linked together like that. Will also be reversible, so stay tuned for that as well. And if you follow me on Twitch, which you should be following me on Twitch, and finding all of my beading fails, I will also be working on that sometime. It may or may not be there, because I don't store my previous sessions for very long. So you all should check that out. So anyway, for this lovely project, you will need 2 SS39 Rivolis. I believe it's around an 8.5, or even 9mm rhinestone, so if you have an off-brand component, that'll work as well. You'll also need 4 Tila Beads, 8 Crescent beads, 2 4mm beads. I've chosen to use pearls this time, but on this ring I have used a Bicone. Either works. And you will also need rubber rings. Now this one is the tricky part, because I've tried a couple of sizes and there are very few that I found make the thing fit perfectly. These are 16 gauge 1/4 inch black rubber rings that I bought from Ringlord. And 2 of them stacked on top of each other works pretty well. You'll need probably about a 6mm rubber ring in general. So the other ring that I've used and tried firsthand for this necklace is this one. It is a 14 gauge. I believe it is also 1/4 inch inner diameter. But it was too large all the way around, so I ended up cutting a nip of it and scrunching it away. It doesn't work perfectly, but it works pretty good enough. So, generally along the lines, you'll want a 6 to 8mm ring. If you can't find inner diameters or gauges, that's pretty much what you're going to use. And finally, 2 or 3 colors of size 15 seed beads. Now in this ring, I used 3 colors, to basically 1 as the base for the entire piece, 1 color to accent one side, and then another color to accent the other side. But for this piece, I'm gonna be lazy, and I'm just gonna use 2. So, and of course you will need your needle and thread. So let us get started. So first off, what we're going to be doing is creating probably the easiest bezel in the history of ever. We're going to start off with stringing on an alternate pattern of 2 crescent beads and 1 Tila bead. We're going to do that until we've used up all our beads. It'll be a total of 4 sets. Now be careful when you're stringing these. Make sure that everything falls in the same hole direction. So make sure you string your crescents in the right direction so that they are both facing together like a pair of bananas and not like opposite of each other, like a disorderly pair of bananas. Like that. Make sure they are in the same hole. Also be sure to check that both holes of your crescents are unplugged and fully accessible before you string this on your pattern. You will save a lot of tears and probably a lot of punches. So far, your project should look something like this. Now what we're going to do is pass back through all of them once more through the same hole, forming a loop. Now you're going to want to leave a pretty reasonable tail so you can start off the other half of your band when you get to that point. So keep that in mind, probably 12 to 20 inches, something like that. Whatever you feel comfortable with. Alright, then we pull tight, forming our loop like that. Now what we're going to do is tie an overhand knot with our working thread and our tail. Right over left, left over right, cinching it tight. Alright, now we need to secure the other holes of our bezel. We are currently at the top hole of everything in our two-hole creation. So from here, our knot is currently in between a Tila and a Crescent. All we're going to do is pass right through the Crescent's bottom hole. So we've started up here. We're just going to move it right down there. And then we're going to pass through the bottom holes of everything, so we secure everything in place. See how everything is free-floating and flopping around? Well, we're going to stop that. And we're just going to pass through every single bead and their bottom hole so that they all stay in one place. Now, if you're still not liking the tension after you have finished, and you don't like the way everything's flopping around and you got some loose threads here, go ahead and reinforce it one more time. Alright, you should end up with something like that. Next, you want to make sure your working thread is coming out of a set of 2 crescent beads. So my thread is right here. Now we're going to start taking out our seed beads to work on some netting. Okay, so from here, I'm going to add on 2 color A seed beads, 1 color B, and 2 color A seed beads. 5 beads total. And I just noticed my beads match my gray bead mat, so I will be careful about that. There we go. So from here, you're going to pass through the next set of crescent beads. Pull tight, and the set of 5 kind of hangs out on the outside of the bezel, and that's totally cool because we will fix it later. Repeat that all the way around until you have 4 little picots total. And that is what we've got. Currently, my thread is coming out of a crescent bead set. What I want to do to step up is pass through the next 2 color A beads and 1 color B bead. From here, I'm going to add on 3 of my color A beads, and then pass through, folding over the next picot and passing through the center color B bead. Like that. Now when I pull tight, I want to make sure my loop of beads is underneath the crescent beads that are going to be in between. So see how it kind of wants to go over? We're going to push it around and make it go under the crescent. Like that. We pull tight. And then we're going to do the same thing again. We're going to add on 3 color A beads. Pass over the crescent and pull the next loop of color B bead. Next loop by the color B bead. Inward. Go through it. Make sure our little piece of netting is trapped underneath the crescent. This is basically our central piece inside the ring. Repeat that 2 more times to complete your square. And that is what you end up with. To kind of cinch everything closer together, reinforce the center square one more time. Alright, once we have finished with that, we need to move our way over to the other side to continue that piece. So from here, I'm coming out of a color B bead in the center. I'm just going to travel down the color A beads towards the outside, towards the crescents, minding my tail. Then I'm going to pass through the crescents nearby, and finally I'm going to pass through the bottom hole of the same crescents, and I'm going to basically change my thread direction as well while doing this. And now we are ready to work on the other side. First, before we close this up, we're going to want to set in our Rivolis. So we're going to take one, put it color side down, drop it in. It should fit pretty nicely in there. Poke it in if you have to. Then I'm going to slide in my rubber rings on top of that. And finally, my second one, my second Rivoli, color side up. Just mush it underneath the crescent beads. It's going to be a little bit of a snug fit, but you have some room to push on the other side. And you're going to be able to push in as you finish the bezel work. So we're going to kind of hold that in place and do exactly what we did on the other side. We're going to start off from the set of crescents, adding on 2 color A beads, 1 color B or color C if you are matching both of them, and then 2 color A's, passing to the next crescent, like that, and continuing on. Do that all the way around till you've completed all 4 sets. Alright, there's my 4th set coming in, and my crescent really wanted me to go in that direction, so I'm going to take it. After I've completed all 4 sets, I'm going to continue to step up by passing through the first 2 color A and the next color B bead. It's also helpful to keep pushing in on the center Rivoli so that everything stays together. Once I've done that, we're ready to do the entrapment phase, where we add on 3 color A beads, and then pass through the color B bead across the way. Like that. Making sure our netting goes underneath the crescent bead. Like that. Repeat that all the way around until you've got 4 points. Once you've finished that side, don't forget to cinch everything tight by passing through the square once more. Alright, once you've got everything nice and snug, now it's time to start on the actual ring band. So I'm coming out of a color B bead now, and I need to work towards the crescents once more. So I'm just going to travel down the outer 2 color A beads and back through the crescents again. Now I'm going to work on wrapping the strap around here. So I'm going to start off by adding on 3 seed beads. Doesn't really matter what color. Then I'm going to add 1 4mm and 3 more seed beads. Okay, once I've done that, I'm going to pass back around through the crescents again in the same hole. So we kind of anchor it like that. Now, depending on how nice the hole feels in your crescent, you may want to reinforce, or if it's a little too tight in there, you may want to avoid it. But now we need to attach the other side of the 4mm beads so that it falls in the center of the crescent and it doesn't actually stand up higher on one side of the ring than the other. So from here I'm going to travel up the 3 size 15 seed beads, and then through the 4mm bead. Then I'm going to add on 3 more seed beads and pass through the bottom hole of the crescent beads. You may need to wriggle around to make sure you can get things, and so that things aren't too tight. We are going to go around and eventually through once this Tila lets me go. There we go. Gonna be a bit of a snug fit. Now to finish it off, we're just going to add 3 more seed beads and pass back through the 4mm again to finish the X. So now we have kind of an X formation on the 4mm bead. Now from here I'm going to add 6 seed beads and then pass back through the 4mm bead again to form a little bit of a loop around it. I'm going to pass back through these seed beads once more just for security on the band. Back through the 4mm bead. And then finally, to set up for the next stitch, I am going to travel up through the first 4 seed beads. Then I'm going to add on 6 more seed beads. And then pass back through the center 2 seed beads that are in the 4mm bead. Where did that one come from? Oh well. Like that. Then to set up for the next stitch, I'm going to travel up 2 and another 2. You can also reinforce if you feel like you need more security or more shape. But I'm not going to do it. Then I'm going to add on 6 more beads. And then pass back through the top 2 seed beads my thread is coming out of. Set up for the next stitch by going up 2 beads and then over 2 beads. Now from here, it is entirely up to you how you would like to continue your ring band. You can either continue in right angle weave by adding 6 beads, going back around and keep going that way, or you can just do a ladder stitch. And I'm not going to show you how to do the ladder stitch because I have plenty of other videos that do the same ring band. So I'll link a couple of videos if you want to be sure on how to make the ring band. And yes. So once you are finished with this side, be sure to do it on the other side, starting this way with adding your 4mm bead and then continuing your strap, but do it across the way on this set of crescents with your tail. Then once you've done that, you're able to join however you like, which again I show you how to join the ladder stitch in another video. So continue until you are very happy with your project. And there we have our finished piece. One side's blue, one side's green. Blue and green. And also I decided to switch colors on my seed bead band just cause. So feel free to be creative on your band and do whatever you feel like doing. Yes. there we have it. I really like this one. It looks very spacey. Like it belongs to be a push button on a spaceship or something. I don't know. It's really cool, and I like this one a lot. But anyway, that'll be it for this edition of Lessons with Odin. Hope you enjoyed making this super spiffy reversible ring. Be on the lookout for my PDF tutorials on this massive piece here, and also on the bracelet made similarly in my Craftsy shop. I'll leave a link down below, and don't forget to follow me on Twitch as well. And be sure to share with me your creations. Tag me on Instagram at odins.musings, or post something on Facebook and be like, hey, I made this, check it out. Because I will totally check it out, because I love seeing people's creations. I think that'll do it for this Lessons with Odin, and of course, if there is anything I need to be trying out right now, feel free to leave me a comment down below, and I will see you next time.